All righty. Well, thanks again, everybody. Like I said, this is our first Kishwaukee River Ecosystem Partnership meeting of 2023, and looking forward to a very productive year. And hopefully we can start our direction as far as how we're going to proceed this year with our initial discussions. We do have Kiki Schneider with us from the US EPA, and she will be our presenter. She'll be talking about the How's My Waterway portal, which is a new EPA tool for watershed planning. And it's a fairly intuitive tool, but it really helps having somebody show you how it works, what it's capable of, and actually how to use it. Once you have gone through that, I think we'll all be much better at navigating it and using it to its full potential. But once again, thanks for everybody for joining us. I think most of us know each other, but I would like to just go through and do quick introductions, just your name, organization, and role. And I'll go ahead and just call people out as I see people up on our screen here. So first off, my name is Scott Kuykendall. I'm the Water Resource Specialist for the McHenry County Department of Planning and Development, and I'm the active chair of this committee. And this is the Kishwaukee River Ecosystem Partnership has been around for a long time. It did kind of go into a period of where it was on hold, but thanks to Cindy, Pat Lawler, and others, it's gotten going again. And I think we have this is a much needed organization, and I think we have the capability of doing a lot of really great things and sharing great information with each other. So Dan, why don't you go ahead and go next?
Dan Kane, Boone County Conservation District.
Pat?
Pat Lawler, Petawakish and Marengo.
Dean?
Dean Johnson, DeKalb County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Josh?
Josh Sage, Boone County Conservation District.
Cecily?
Reds.
Durs?
Durs Anderson with Open Lands and Land Conservancy, McHenry County.
Dan Volkers?
Hey, Dan Volkers, McHenry County Farm Bureau Manager.
Kiki?
Kiki Schneider, US EPA Office of Water.
David?
There, David Stout. I'm a resident of Marengo, Illinois. I work for Blue Stem Ecological Services.
Gabe?
Gabe Powers with McHenry County Conservation District.
All right, nice to hear your voice. I'm glad you got your audio working. Dennis?
Dennis Anthony, Winnebago County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Cindy?
Cindy Sprukrud, Environmental Defenders of McHenry County.
Oh, is that Gary?
That is Gary Swick. I'm your neighbor with Friends of the Fox River.
Yeah, you're kind of backlit there, so I couldn't see
Yeah,
your face.
sorry about that.
Mary?
I'm Mary McCann. I live on the North Branch of the Kishwaukee, and I'm a former county board member.
And you're on the 2050 plan committee.
Correct. Thanks for reminding me.
Leonard?
Leonard Dane with Fairgram Engineering.
Okay, and just to clarify, you're also leading the charge with the Rock River NARP.
Yes, we're the lead consultant on the Rock River NARP.
Okay.
Which
does extend up into the Kishwaukee River.
Yeah, I'll be right
watershed.
there.
Yes, it's the Rock River and Kishwaukee rivers we're doing the monitoring on. Yes.
Great, thank you. And then I see somebody from the Defenders. I'm not sure who that is, if that's Cindy or somebody else.
That's me.
Okay. Then Beth?
Beth Skronsky, McHenry County DOT.
Hey, Beth, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. I may not make the whole meeting, but it was, time I attended one. So thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Great to have you on. Ernest?
Ernest Varga, McHenry County Division of Transportation.
And it looks like we've got a lot of representation today. Ed?
Ed Markinson, McHenry County Division of Transportation.
Great to see you, Ed. Thanks for joining us. I got a message here from Cole. They just, hey, everyone, I've got headphones with no microphone. So he'll introduce himself here. He's Cole Nieder with CMAP, working on watershed planning. Great to see you, all of you again. So thanks, Cole. Brian?
Yeah, Brian Valesky with Geosyntech.
And then you're leading the charge for the NARP with Huntley, correct?
Yeah, Huntley, Hampshire. We're working with Fair Graham on Rock River as well.
Okay. So I think I got everybody. Anybody that I left out? Okay, well, thank you once again for joining us. The next item on the agenda is just stakeholder updates or general announcements. The one thing that I was going to give Cindy an opportunity to mention, you had forwarded a link. I did not get that in our last email, but is that something you'd like to talk about, Cindy?
Yeah, Scott, do you mean the link to the Rock River Recovery newsletter?
Is that what it
Yeah.
was? Okay.
Yeah. So I can just say a bit about it and then I can put it in the chat. I just thought folks would be interested. Wisconsin DNR sends out a periodic newsletter about their work in the Rock River watershed, and I always find it chock full of information. So I will put a link in the chat for how you can subscribe yourself to that newsletter.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Cindy.
Anybody else have any topics that they'd like to bring up? Anything relevant to watershed planning or the Kishwaukee River watershed?
Hi, this is Dennis. I lost my internet on my computer, so I hopped back on my phone. Just wanted to make you aware that our Winnebago County Highway Department is submitting a 319 grant for some restoration work on a stretch of Madigan Creek here in our county. We won't know more, obviously, until late summer, and if it's funded, but there is a urbanized kind of stream or ditch that's formed in a residential neighborhood that they're trying to address there. So just make you aware of that.
What type of work are you looking to do? Like pull back the banks and stabilize the shore, or what are you doing, or what are you proposing?
It's the highway department's application, and so I'm not sure what. Probably mainly riprap, because it's it's not more of an intermittent stream. It's more stormwater runoff than it is an actual flowing section of the creek.
Okay.
Dennis, this is Sean from the highway department. I can follow up on that a little bit, Scott.
I didn't know you're on.
It's about a $1.3 million project that we're looking to fund for just under a mile worth of stream corridor, and it will be laying back the banks. There will be armament and riprap, removal of trees and forested area along the stream banks, and then reestablishing like a prairie or native vegetative growth along the stream. So that's what we're hoping to do with that stretch. We'll see how the funding comes together on it.
No, that sounds great. That's a biotechnical approach. That is something I used to do a lot in my former role as a consultant. And it'd be great if you guys could photo document that throughout the process. You can't go back in time and show get before pictures, so it'd be great to have before and after photos that could be shared.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, and best luck on the grant application. And I guess it looks like you and Carrie Lee had hopped on after we did our introduction. So just real quick, would you and Carrie just provide who you are, what organization you're with, real quick?
Sure. I'm Sean Von Bergen. I'm a civil engineer with the Winnebago County Highway Department. I handle all stormwater and drainage issues throughout the county.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Lee. I'm the Executive Director at the Natural Land Institute, a conservation land trust, not-for-profit. We're located in Rockford, and our service area is 13 counties in Northwest Illinois.
Okay, well, thanks again for joining us. Any other events, topics that people would like to bring up that you think would be relevant?
Hey, Scott, it's Dean from DeKalb County. I think in a more confident way, and the next time we meet, I can probably tell you that we will probably be working on a new watershed plan in the northern part of DeKalb County. So nothing has been signed yet, but there's indications that that's going to happen. So we're excited about that.
Okay, you guys have been doing a great job there. Last year you were working on a couple plans. Are those completed?
The one that we had in the central part of our county, that one is completed. And so this is a new one that we submitted last year, and we've had communication, but we haven't got official documents signed yet on a planning process for the northern part of the county.
Like I said, you guys are doing a great job there, and hopefully the rest of us and the rest of the watershed can get going on watershed plans as well. And I think you guys will, probably have laid a lot of groundwork that we can utilize, and then hopefully Kiki's program today will give you more tools to incorporate into future watershed plans. Anybody else? Oh, hey, Robert, I see you joined us as well. You want to give a quick shout out as to who you are and what organization you represent?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm Robert Levin. I'm here on behalf of Marengo Township.
Okay, well, it'll even out. Durs came here yesterday thinking it was Friday, so he gets extra credit, and we'll make up for your tardiness, Robert.
Good.
So we're all square. All right. Any other topics? I'll bring it. I don't have my notes in front of me, but Ernest had sent me information on new state bills that were enacted as of January 1st. And one was dealing directly with watersheds that was not on my radar. Fortunately, it turns out it was really just kind of a procedural type of bill, but I wish I had my notes in front of me, but there is a council.
It's called the Rivers of Illinois Coordinating Council.
Thank you very much. Glad you're organized. But it was say the name once more.
Rivers of Illinois Coordinating Council.
Just out of curiosity, is anybody else familiar with that council? Okay, because it was. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not surprised that you do, Cindy, but nobody else I've talked to had heard of it, and so I was trying to find more information on it. I really couldn't find much, but the new bill, all it really does is instead of operating under an executive order, it makes it an official council, and it restores the Illinois State Water Survey as having a voting seat on the council. They had originally been part of the council, but when the Illinois State Water Survey went from being under the auspices of the DNR to the University of Illinois, they lost their seat. And so this restores the Illinois State Water Survey as a voting member on that council. So it's basically just a procedural bill, but it should have nothing but a net positive for us. But I am curious to learn more about what that organization does and to see if there's ways that we can partner or benefit in some way from that council. So perhaps that'll be a topic of a future conversation, but it was kind of interesting trying to figure out what it was and what they do. But
in the past, I mean, it's been consolidated into this one council. In the past, I believe there was an Illinois River Coordinating Council, a Mississippi River Coordinating Council. I can't remember if there might have been a
The
Wabash
Wabash
River
and
Code.
Ohio rivers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's now been consolidated into one. So
Right.
the name is fairly new in the history of coordinating councils.
So, okay, I don't have anything else. If nobody has anything else, we'll move on to the next topic. This is membership dues. So we've been collecting funds, I think, for the past couple of years. We currently have a balance of $4,093. And I think the last time we utilized KREP funds, it was to in support of the Paddle the Kish. What were those funds used for, Pat?
It's $1,700. We used them for a launch.
Okay.
And it was to empty the funds that had been collected in the previous 20 years. So
Okay.
that this money now is all of our money. It's new money since January of 22.
So, you know, I'm not looking to make any decisions right now, but I do want to kind of put it out there that we have these funds and we will be collecting dues, this year and coming years. Would like to get a better sense of what our membership would like to use those funds for. The one thing I kind of have on my list is we have a number of stream gauges in McHenry County, Boone County, Winnebago County. It's not cheap to maintain those. What I'd like to do is try and find funding sources for the gauges that we have, as well as potentially adding stream gauges. And so my thinking is watershed groups, that may be a good function of a watershed group, is to get those funds and to use those funds in support of continued stream gauge monitoring. It did come up here in McHenry County. We were being asked, what is the data being used for? Who's using it? And what I was trying to explain is it's not a one-off type of a thing. One collection of data is really not going to tell you anything. You need to have data over time. And so, what we're doing is actually creating a data that can be used. So if we have a flood event, a drought, any number of things, we need to have an extended period of data in order to utilize that and use for planning purposes. But I'd really like to have a consistent funding source for those stream gauges, as well as I really want people to be using the data. And I think if watershed groups and others have a stake in the game, they're much more likely to be utilizing that data. And so just want to put that out there. See if I can get any feedback, what people think, or if people have other ideas of how to utilize those funds. The other thing I'm, would really be leaning towards is using it for educational outreach in some capacity. But what are people's thoughts? Anybody have any thoughts as far as stream gauges or other ideas of what they would like to see KREP's funds used for?
Scott, this is Sean from Winnebago County. I would just reiterate that I would agree with you with those stream gauges. It does seem to be harder and harder to find funding for them. And this would probably be a good use of watershed groups funds, if not to pay for it in whole, at least to partially help fund to then keep some of the local organizations and they keep getting more and more expensive each year. And to offset some of those increases. And it should also be noted that a lot of those gauges provide very different ranges of data. Some of them are only crest level data, some are full flow and all kinds of information. And I know we have one on the Kish in Winnebago County that the highway department funds that gives a full range of data and flow monitoring and everything like that for the Kish, and it is very valuable to the watershed groups when we're like the Rock River's going through the NARP process right now with our watershed group, and we're able to utilize all that data, and it's a very good thing, and it's very good to keep those funded.
Did a good job though.
Yeah. Hey, Mary, Could you,
Sorry, yeah. I was
You-
gonna say something.
Okay,
I
well, go
forgot.
ahead.
I had
Go ahead.
unmuted myself and my husband came in. So I was gonna totally agree with you. I think that it'll really be important as we start really looking at stormwater planning over the next 25 years, because there are serious flooding issues along the lower Kish, especially the lower Kish in McHenry County. Let's do it that way. And so I think, yes, I could suggest a couple of places we could start. So good idea.
Well, that and, we can track how land use changes may affect water levels. I know that's an important topic for our agricultural community. So I think this data really could have a lot of value to the agricultural community. Any number of things. We'd really like to have a better understanding of the relationship between our groundwater and our surface water. And so that's another value, I think, that having an extended period of data would provide, give us better data to actually understand that. As you are well aware, at times our water bodies will be receiving groundwater, at other times they'll actually be feeding groundwater. And the potential problem there is the pollutants in the stream then potentially can go down into the groundwater. So there's a lot that we can really get a better understandanding of by having that data. It is getting more expensive. The Army Corps, or excuse me, the U.S. Geological Survey is being required to have their clients pay more and more. So the amount that they're able to subsidize and underwrite is shrinking and will continue to shrink. And so, having consistent, stable funding, I think, would help justify continued analysis for our existing ones. And like I said, I'd like to fill in gaps where they're most needed.
Right. I'm going to add one thing. Because I live on the North Branch, we used to have a sod farm just north of us, but nobody really knew it was there. It was back in some about 100 acres of old property. But when they watered, the water in the North Branches in the summer went way down. And and there are a lot of small people like us, they should have had a permit. I don't know if they did. We don't need one and we don't use it anymore, but we used to water our strawberries out of the Kish. But people forget that groundwater in a stream, if you're living near that, you can tell about where the groundwater level is by the amount of water in the stream, and be alerted that somebody is pulling off a lot of water. So, yeah, it's a good idea.
I had a thought too. 5-6 years ago, through KREP, we were talking with the USGS about maybe organizing just purely a volunteer effort where stream gauges would be installed at different bridges. The USGS would determine what the cubic feet per second would be based on the elevation on the stream gauges, but it would all be totally dependent on identifying volunteers before or after during storm events that would go out there and report, in some coordinated fashion. I was trying to find some grant money, never was able to find the grant money, but I did get the stream gauges. So I have probably 7 or 8 of these stream gauges in my basement yet to be installed. I'd be glad to offer them, but they're not worth installing unless a highway department, a citizen group, unless somebody is tagged to go out there and gather the data, just visually. And again, there's, with no coordinated system watershed wide, it doesn't make sense to just go out there and install them. That doesn't get us anywhere. So if we were able to put together a volunteer effort, even with some of the highway departments or conservation districts to actually visually gather data, that's going to provide a lot more data very cheaply. Obviously, you can, anybody who wants these gauges, I'd be glad to donate them to you.
We do have several people with transportation orientation here, so you guys think about it, and feel free to reach out to me or contact us directly if that's something you think you'd be willing to participate in. As far as McHenry County, I'd be, happy to coordinate and figure out some way of organizing that. I guess I'd need to know a little bit more about the devices themselves. And I am curious, most the stream gauges I'm referring to are automated, so that data is being transmitted up to the U.S. Geological Survey's satellites, just like our groundwater monitoring wells are. So I wonder if those things could be adapted, and because I want to say the wells are like 10 grand or something like that. So, it's not a cheap endeavor. But
there's nothing technical. These are just measuring sticks.
Okay.
And then you have to get USGS or a similar agency to correlate, the water flow to the elevation. That's an additional step that's going to cost some money. Once you have that correlated, then you need a volunteer group to go out there and gather data.
Well, I tell you what, this is one of the speakers I want to potentially bring on this year anyway. But if you could you take a photo of what you've got and send that to me? What I'll do is I've been talking to the stream gauge expert at the U.S. Geological Survey's DeKalb office, and maybe I'll have him as a guest speaker, and we can talk more about stream gauges, costs, capabilities, and things like that, and figure out the best way to utilize the equipment that you've got. It's not doing any good sitting in your basement, but like you said, it's not an automated system, so you would have to create a system to do the observations. But I think there's an opportunity there that we can look further into.
Hey, Scott, I wanted to put a plug in. I agree that I think we need to put some of that money aside for education and outreach, and that maybe we want to think about working together on a common KREP fact sheet that we could all have copies of at our offices. And it reminded me, like, when we got this group started going again, we just made an online Google Doc. I'm gonna put that, it's very rudimentary, but that's where we kind of had been storing collective information about KREP. I'll put that link in the chat along with my email, because there's probably some updates that need to be made to it anyway, and folks can email me, like, we list how many plans have been completed, et cetera, et cetera. So just a thought that I think it would be good to have, even though we do everything electronically lately, I think it's sometimes nice to have a piece of paper somewhere that will draw other people into the work we're doing.
Well, it could also, the other thing, as far as education and outreach, is MS4 programming and raising people's awareness of MS4 within their communities. I know a lot of the smaller communities aren't MS4 communities, but that was one thought I had as far as what we could do. And, a fact sheet or, a 2-page handout type of a thing is something that the MS4 communities could use to meet their educational outreach requirements. So that could be something that KREP as an organization could be providing added value to those MS4 communities. So just a thought there, and I will be bringing that up in a future meeting. Okay, we're starting to get low on time. I want to make sure that our guest speaker has enough time. Any other ideas people would like to bring up? Okay, well, if that's, we're going to go ahead and go on to our presentation today. Like I said, we're very fortunate to have Kiki Schneider with the EPA to take us through the How's My Watershed website. And I've seen her presentation through the Illinois Lakes Management Association, and found it very helpful to have somebody kind of show how it works. And Kiki is directly responsible for putting this together, so we couldn't have a better person introducing it to us. So you want to go ahead and tell us who you are, Kiki, and get going with your presentation?
Sure, thank you, Scott. I work in the EPA headquarters, Office of Water in Washington, DC, and in the water data integration branch. So we take water data and integrate it, and for this application, How's My Waterway, for the public to be able to find water information anywhere in the US and territories, and lots of tribal lands too, all in one place. So I'm going to be showing you that today. I have a background in user-centered design and environmental policy. And so that has helped inform the design of this application. We design it for anyone to be able to use and hopefully understand. It's hard when you have so much information to try to make something for everyone, but we have had middle schoolers use it, and we've had middle schoolers up, to age 100 and beyond. I'm not certain of 100-year-olds using it, but they could. But so it's been designed for anyone, designed for the general public to learn and explore and find what's going on in their waterways. So I'm going to start with a short slide presentation just to give you some background, and then I'll go into the live demo. Let me get the slides up. So I'm just mentioned, so the goals of How's My Waterway, we deployed this in 2020, I guess in the middle of the, deep in the pandemic there, remotely, while working remotely. So the three main goals of How's My Waterway is to provide the public, so anyone, with usable, meaningful information that's user-friendly and easy to understand. We also want to inspire others to take action to restore and protect their waterways, which a lot of people I know go in here and see how polluted or impaired their waters are, and they want to do something about it. And also, of course, to communicate progress the states, tribes, and EPA are making towards restoring and protecting water. We have a lot of data in here. Since I work in the water data integration branch, we've put in data from a lot of different databases, and this is most of them. I don't know if I have updated the slide to include all of them, but we have USGS stream gauges, protected areas, monitoring data from the water quality portal. We have assessments from the states and TMDLs from the states from our attains database. We have permits and enforcement history from ECHO, grants for the 319 grants program. We have fish advisory, listing of fish advisory websites for each state. We have safe drinking water information in here, healthy watersheds data, and wild and scenic rivers. We have done a lot this year. We updated our monitoring pages to make them a lot more robust than they were by adding the stream gauges and being able to dig into data a lot easier. And also we've added a bunch of tribal pages and an educator section in How's My Waterway, because students and educators are our main audience. Actually, that is the most heavily used group is education field. And hopefully that means it's easy to understand. So some things about How's My Waterway, it's map centric. So you can explore water and other information on a map, and you can also do it in a list. And I'll show you that during my demo. You can use it on your mobile phone or any site. It's called responsive design, where the tool responds to any screen size. So if you're on your phone, it will size down to the phone, your tablet, and desktop, laptop. You can use it on any screen size. And then we give a picture of water quality on 3 levels in your community. Overall, how is your state or tribe or territory doing, and nationally. And then when we first designed this, it focused on the main topics we focused on were swimming, eating fish, aquatic life, and drinking water, which are uses that the states assess. But we've since added a lot more stuff into the app. So you'll see that. And I will jump into the live demo. So you should be able to see the How's My Waterway. And it's easy to get to, just mywaterway.epa.gov. And when you come in, I'm just typing that in the chat. Oh, also feel free to type questions in the chat, or I'll pause periodically because there's so much in here I'm showing. I'll pause for questions every maybe 15 minutes or so. So when you come to How's My Waterway, it's just we call it a web app because we're pulling in data in it, but it's on a website. So it's very lightweight. It's not a phone app. You just come to mywaterway.epa.gov and you can use it on your phone or your desktop. You can start by entering a location to search anywhere in the US or territories. You can search tribes too, or you can use your location by just pressing use my location, and it will land on the nearest point to that, the nearest smaller watershed, sub-watershed. A lot of states submit their data by HUC 12 watersheds to us. So we've cut up a lot of the data by a HUC 12 watershed. And I know it's a very governmenty term. I didn't even know it when I started in the Office of Water, but we also show what's happening outside that smaller watershed as well. So on this homepage, you can also click, just dive right into community, go to the state and tribal pages, which is basically their assessment report or integrated report online that they submit to EPA every 2 years, and then just a summary of what's happening nationally. But the real, core of what we show is in the community level, and that's what people are most interested in. So I'm going to start by entering in a location. And since we're talking about the Kishwaukee River, I will go there, and you start typing, it will suggest places to go. So there's a lot of similar names, and I heard the headwater, similar names in other states. I heard the headwaters were in Woodstock. So I started exploring there today. Each time I do a demo, I explore a different area of the US, and it's great. So I've been trying to learn about this river all morning and digging into where stuff is. So when you put in your location, it's pulling data from all those different databases that I showed in the slides. It'll come up in a second. It's always slow when I'm presenting for some reason, or maybe I should turn off my video. I don't know if that will help.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure who still has their video on, but just make sure that everybody turns off their video and audio during the presentation, unless you're needing to ask a question.
Great, thank you. So when you land here, you come to an overview page. And so I wanted to land here near the headwaters of the river, near Woodstock, and Woodstock's up here. And so you'll come in and you'll see this is the water that Illinois has assessed and the data that Illinois has submitted to the EPA. And states are required to report every 2 years. And so in this, this outline, as it says on the right, is the smaller sub-watershed here. You can, if you want to see the entire upstream watershed, there's an arrow on the map where you can press view upstream watershed, and it will zoom out to the whole drainage area for that smaller one that we landed on. And if you didn't land in the right spot, you can see all the waters outside and click on them, and you can change your location. If you wanted to be up here and you click, it will ask if you want to change to this location up here, and it will recalculate all this stats on the right of the page. And this is useful because we tell students, like, whatever happens upstream affects what happens downstream. So you use that button and you can see the waters upstream and find out what's happening upstream and what's affecting what's happening downstream. And so you can turn that off by pressing the arrow on the top right of the map again. So now we're back to where we landed. So we have 2 water bodies for this smaller area that Illinois has submitted, 17 monitoring locations, including, I think there's 4 US stream gauges in there that I'll show, and other water quality monitoring stations from the Water Quality Portal where volunteers submit their data. And anyone can submit data to EPA, just takes a little training, and possibly some on this call might have done that already. And then any dischargers that have a permit to discharge directly into the water, we show as well. So I'll start by showing you the water bodies. If I click on this, Kishwaukee River, this part of it, because it's very long, and you can keep clicking on different segments and get different data for it. So this one, you'll see it was reported to EPA in 2022, which is now last year. You can also open this information in the list on the right. If you're on a bigger screen, it might be easier just to see it right there. So the water was evaluated for aquatic life, fish and shellfish consumption, swimming and boating, and other. And the identified issues in here were mercury and PCBs. And so the pop-up will show this information and also the list on the right. In How's My Waterway, we realized that we have a lot of terms that need to be defined. So we have a glossary. And so any word that has this little book by it, you can click on the aquatic life, and the glossary pops out on the right and it tells you what that is. So we've done this for all our impairments too, which we say impairments at EPA, but we changed it to say issues because it was more public friendly. So if you click on mercury, you'll get a definition, what is mercury and what can you do about it? And we'll get some links to good websites that tell you more about that. And so all of our issues here have that. And you can click on PCBs too, what you can do about it in your community. And then we also found out, not many people realize this when they're designing stuff like this, that most people don't know what a watershed is. And if you know what a watershed is, you don't even know how to explain what a watershed is most of the time. So we have defined watershed too in the glossary, and we just have a simple definition that is a land area that drains into a stream or other water body right there. And so we have over 100 words in the glossary. You can also access it at the top here under glossary, and the whole thing will pop out and you can see how many words we have in there. And if you have any suggestions as I go through this app, please don't be afraid to suggest things or constructive criticism. All feedback is great because we're always trying to improve what we're doing here. So, so when you click on the water body, you get all that was assessed for these uses. It was impaired for fish and shellfish consumption. And it was good other, we'll find that out in a second when we go to the water body report. All the uses are grouped into these categories across all states and territories. There's also a drinking water one. So we can be consistent across all states and tribes and territories. And also the impairments are the same words across all states, tribes and territories. But when you dig a little deeper and go to our water body report page, which each water body you click on has this page called View Water Body Report. This will be where you can see exactly what the state has given us, because if you get an impairment of bacteria, it could have been E. coli, but we call it bacteria just to be consistent in this app. So when you go to the water body report, and all these water body report pages have a unique URL at the top. So you could just, if someone was interested in just this information, you could just send in this page. But this will tell you, so was this water 303 delisted? Yes, it needs a TMDL. It's impaired, but needs a TMDL. And if you don't know what 303 delisted means, you can find out that as well. And then it will give more information. What type of water is this? Where is it located? And then, so we have what it was evaluated for. Aesthetic quality, that was in the other category that I was talking about earlier. So it's good for aesthetic quality. Aquatic life is good. Fish consumption, it's impaired. And it said mercury and PCBs on when I clicked on the water. But for fish consumption, looks like mercury and PCBs is the same thing there. So sometimes the words will be different than what we say on the other pages. And then so primary contact recreation, which was swimming and boating, was not assessed for. So sometimes the states will include documents here about their decisions, and also if there was any TMDLs here, they would be listed as well. So that's the water body report, and each water body in here has one. So you can click on any one and at the bottom there, and it will come up. So if you, I know this river is very long, so I came in here and I saw this, and then I wanted to explore more. So you can also kind of move the map around here and go, you can go south, or you can go west along the river. And any point that you wanted to be at, you can just change your location, and it will update the monitoring stations and dischargers. I'm going to change this to streets real quick. Sorry, I'm coughing a lot this winter. So I was following the river down because Scott sent me some information about the river and where the development was, and also where it runs into the Rock River. So you don't have to stay where you landed. You can explore all around. And so I found the town of Belvedere here where there was development. And also, I think I found the Rock River somewhere when I kept going, but I don't know the area that well. But you can, my point is that you can pan around and you can find different things depending on where you land. Is this the Rock River possibly? I don't know. You click on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't even know this area before today. So yeah, so there's the Rock River, and you can explore that. All the different segments have different assessments. So if I click here, another segment of the Kishwaukee River, this might have different, yeah, this is bacteria there that we didn't see before. And so you can have a lot of fun with this map, and I'm gonna show you more in a minute. I'm just gonna go back to home now before I get too far off course there. Show you more about what you can do with the map after I get through these two tabs right here. So the next one is monitoring. And if you turn it on, we have current water conditions and past water conditions. And so current would be anything from the past week. And then past will be anything after more than a week old. So because all the monitoring data we get submitted to EPA, which are the purple circles, are it takes a week to process it. And then the current water conditions, USGS, it could be last hour. So I'm gonna just turn on the current ones first. So these are the USGS stream gauges, and you can click on those on the map. And we worked really closely with USGS this past year to put these in. It was very complicated, but we did it. We were very excited about this. It was hard. It was really hard to get this ready to put in. But
Hey, Kiki.
Uh-huh.
Don't mean to interrupt, but I did want to clarify that what we're looking at here are actually our groundwater monitoring wells in McHenry County.
Okay.
So you can see it says water type well. So those are actually groundwater monitoring wells. We do have some stream gauges, but what we're looking at here are at least some of them are monitoring wells.
Yes, it looks like all 4 of them are wells. I can see that on the list now. Thank you. I guess it's just, everyone just says stream gauges where but I think if I go down more in the map and change.
We are unusual in that we do have a network of almost 40 wells in McHenry
okay.
County. So
Yeah.
it's since you're not familiar with the area, it is unusual. So thank you.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, this is unusual. I remember when we were putting this in here, we were like, there's not that many wells, but now we've found a lot of them. So it will show all the measurements coming through that stream gauge or well, sorry. And this is the well depth. And this is today at 11 a.m. that measurement was taken. So this is the most recent data we have in here. And if there's a data from the week, you'll get a little chart here that you can mouse over and see the weekly data, but there's no weekly data for these wells right here. But there's some more in this one. Interesting. So this one has air temperature, air pressure, humidity, well depth, wind direction, wind speed. So there's more measurements there for different categories. So you can see the location of those just in here and see what data's been pulled in there from those wells. And then I don't know if you're familiar with the water quality portal, but that's where a lot of our volunteer monitoring data comes in, and that's the past water conditions. And so if I turn that on, there'll be the purple circles. You can also look at them with the current water conditions if you want. It will tell you who submitted it. So a lot of this is USGS as well. And then sometimes you'll see, I think I saw Illinois River Watch. Oh yeah, here's it, Illinois River Watch volunteer. So if anyone on this call is interested in submitting data to us that they've monitored you can do that and it will show up here in this area and you can be able to click on it. I can give you the information to help you get set up to do that and who to contact to get trained on that. But when you click on these monitoring locations, you'll see that this is where you can download the data directly. So if you're interested in what's coming from these, you can see there's pesticide, sediment, physical, other. You can just download the data right here into a CSV and get that information there. Also for the USGS data, you can go to their website. We just linked to their website here and you can download data there. So it's a quick way of getting there. We don't have it capable just from this page though. So I'm going to go more into the monitoring locations when I get to the monitoring tab because we added a lot more stuff to that. So I'm going to move on to the next tab, which is the permitted dischargers. So any facility that has a permit to discharge directly into the water will show up. And you can see if it has a violation. You can click on it. You can see in the list, it says no violation or violation identified. You can see the compliance, it's an inspection, and if there's been any formal enforcement action. And so we've linked here to our enforcement and compliance history online. And if you click here, you can go to that database and look to see if there's a violation and what the exceedances were, and see the history. And this data is updated every quarter. So if they were in violation this quarter, they might not be in violation next quarter. So it changes often, but you can dig into that by going straight to this facility report there. So that's just the overview page where you land and you can see a snapshot of what's happening. I'm going to just stop for a minute and see if there's any other questions before I dig into the map a little more.
Kiki, 319 watershed plan on this portion in Upper Kishwaukee, which probably is, I'm guessing now 6 to 8 years old. It's in your listing, I saw that there were no watershed plans in place or something to that effect. Does that mean it's too old or what, or did the IPA just not report it
Or do you only list TMDL reports if they're existing and not if there's an approved, 9 minimum element 319 plan?
Well, we do show on the restore page, which I'll get to later, but we do show the 319, section 319 projects, the grants, the non-point source pollution grants. I'm not sure if that's the same of what you're talking about here.
not the one you're highlighting, possibly.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can get a 319 grant without having a 319 watershed-based plan in place, though it's less likely these days that you'll get a grant.
Okay, so we show, we show the grants here and we show the TMDLs and other types of plans. I'll have to look into that because doing these demos, sometimes we do find mistakes. So I can check back with that.
Do you know offhand how long a 319 plan adopted by IEPA is valid? Or anybody?
You have to renew them every 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
Like update them every 10 years. And I think that 2008, it's very likely that it was not approved under 319. So that was just around the cusp of when they started implementing the 319 program. So it might have just been immediately before that.
If we have an opportunity in the DeKalb area, as we were talking about during the opening sessions, in the DeKalb area, they've been doing brand new 319 approved plans. So maybe it'd be interesting to take a look there at some point if we move downstream.
Okay, I'm not sure if we actually pull in the watershed plans. I'll have to, well, we pull in the TMDLs. But the 319, someone in my branch works for the grants in 319, but I'll have to, he will know. I can definitely ask, but we can search down there.
I think it'd be something, yeah, Kiki, that would be useful for folks to know if there's at least a 319 plan. Obviously, it's not the same as a TMDL implementation, though a 319 plan can serve as an implementation plan for a TMDL.
Okay, yeah. I will check because they don't have it in their database ready to serve to us. We pull everything in through APIs. So it might be that reason, but I know we don't show them in here now. But the question of why we don't show them, I'll have to investigate more.
Yeah, something to consider.
Yes, yeah. But I can shoot a message over to my colleague real quick later and get that, see who is actually working on that, because I'm not really sure, because I know that we do put the grants in, but not the watershed plans. I've had this suggestion before, so I'm glad you reminded me. Okay, I'm gonna just show you more stuff on the map before I move on to the other tabs. So I showed you the upstream watershed button right there on the upper right. You can, this one underneath it can turn off the surrounding water bodies or turn them back on. Let me change this background just so you can see it better. Sometimes there's water bodies all over the place, like in Pennsylvania, it gets very cluttered. But Illinois isn't too bad here, but you can turn them off if you don't want to see all those surrounding ones like that. You can also turn on the monitoring locations I showed. You can press the beaker and you can turn on the surrounding ones too. So you can click on them outside the area you're in. Doesn't like me right now. Okay, there you go. So you can turn on all the locations outside all around. So you can, if you know of some out there that you want to look at. And then you can, since I'm on a big screen, it's not a huge deal, but you can also make the map full screen. I don't know where that button went. It's down, it's hiding on my page for some reason. Oh, there it is. So you can press this square in the lower right and make the map full screen. And this is useful if you're on a smaller laptop. So this will go in full screen mode, and there's several layers you can add just to get a better idea of what's going on. If you click on the layer list at the top right, so you can change that background map, base map to 6 different options. There's also imagery, which can be pretty cool sometimes. You can see that. I was doing streets before in light gray. You can also do terrain and topographic and dark canvas too. So to show you the other layers, I will just keep it gray so you can actually see everything. We turn off a couple things. So I showed the monitoring locations. The water bodies are on. The watershed boundary is there. If you want to turn the watershed boundary off, just click the boundary and it will go away. Sometimes you don't really care about that border. If you want to see the outline of all the other small watersheds around you, you can click on watersheds and they'll come up in purple. And if you are interested in a certain one, you can click on that one and it will switch locations, or you will just click on that and it will tell you which watershed that is. And that's the North Branch Kishwaukee River watershed there. Okay, going down the list. We have county outlines. I know this river crosses several counties. If I zoom out, it'll probably be easier to see. These are in orange lines, so you can click within any orange box there, and it will tell you what county. McHenry County is there. And then I'm sure you're probably familiar with these other counties that I'm not, but I'm clicking down here. And then we have Kane County. And so, yeah, when this river crosses tons of counties because I see all these borders right there. And then this button, Mapped Water All, is useful. If you click it, this is from our National Hydrography data set. And it maps all the water in the US. And so what we showed before was just the water that was assessed by the states, but this will show all the water bodies. So you can see the state assessments in there in red and green. I didn't mention that before, that red means it has an impairment, green means it doesn't, and purple is unknown. Sorry, I forgot to mention that before. If I click on the all mapped water, you'll see all the water bodies, and you'll see that these weren't assessed up here, these weren't assessed down here. So you can see what wasn't assessed, you can see everything there, and we encourage people to go get involved. If it's not assessed, to monitor the water and get that data submitted. So you can see there's a lot more water than was assessed, and some states assess everything like Pennsylvania, but a lot of states just don't have the budget. So that's a good way of seeing all the water around you. And then we have state boundaries here, and then we have congressional districts if you want to know what representative is in the watershed or the area. This will come up in the hot pink lines. All these are being slow for me today. And because it's Friday, I don't know. But all these would be different congressional districts. You can click on it and it will tell you who the representative is. I'm not going to waste time with that loading. We have a tribal areas layer if you want to know where the tribal lands are. I don't think there's any around here. And then we just added this land cover layer from the National Land Cover Database. I think it's 2019. So you'll see all the red developed land and then the green forests, and there's a layers right here. I mean the legend up on the left, upper left, so you can see what the land cover is in this area. And I know Scott said there's a lot of protected land along this river. I think it's over here maybe. And you can see where all the developed land is there. That was a request. I went to an education conference in October and they requested we put that in, so we did. So any suggestions you have, I'm definitely taking notes. And then lastly, we have the demographic indicators. These are from our environmental justice screening tool that will tell you the population of historically underserved and represented populations. So we have low income, percent people of color, less than high school education, individuals under age 5, over 64. This area wasn't as diverse as some areas I've been to in the US, but if I click on individuals over age 64, it will come up and show the data by census blocks. And the darker it is, the more of those senior citizens live in these areas up here, and you can do some screening, like, is this water heavily impaired, where these communities reside? And if you click on this, it will tell you all the percentages of the people and the percentiles. So there are a lot of individuals over 64 in this area, and there's 96 percentiles. So that's pretty high compared to the rest of the country. So you can click on any of those demographics and see what's around there. So those are all the layers.
Real quick, Holly Hudson had a question in the chat. She was saying purple shading means not assessed, ? A lot of lakes on the screen now have indeed been assessed by the IEPA. And I think when you were saying purple is not assessed, you're talking the purple stream color, correct?
Hold on, let me go back to this page. So did I say not assessed? I meant condition unknown. So if the water's purple, that means,
Maybe zoom out so we can see the different colors.
oh, sorry, yeah. So we have green. Green is, there weren't any impairments found. Red, there is at least one use that was impaired. And purple is condition unknown, which means that it could have been assessed, but a decision wasn't able to be made on it.
Does that make sense, Holly?
It's kind of surprising unless Illinois EPA is no longer using older, like they decided not to use older data because they default back. You know, if data is older than, 5 or 10 years, they would still used to still use it. But maybe their assessment protocol has changed in that older data they're not using and therefore saying condition unknown.
Yeah, I don't know the reasons, but that would be a question for them.
I
we're
will
sharing the
follow
most,
up.
yeah, that'd be great. We're sharing the most recent data they've given us from the 2-year cycle.
So just the 22 cycle.
Yeah, yeah. It could be that there wasn't enough data to make a decision or.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually have a glossary definition for that condition unknown, and let me just look at it real quick. When a water body is identified for a specific use but not assessed for that use, is that correct? I'll have to revisit that definition, but I also think they might have, because there might not have been enough data or a decision was not able to be made. But glad you brought that up. So there is one more thing on the map. This plus sign, you can add data. You can add any data set that's publicly available on ArcGIS online. So we don't own it, so we have a disclaimer about that. But if you want to see where the USA flood hazard areas are, you can add this one. These are suggested ones that I put on. You can also search through tens of thousands of data sets, and this will come up and show you where the biggest flood hazards are. And there's right here, it looks like 100-year flood area right there. And then there's a legend that says the darker is more of a chance of flooding and some other conditions, future conditions. So we have that there. There's also, you have to remember to turn this off so it won't stick on there forever. So I've suggested some like urban heat islands if you want to know where those are. And you can also search anything on here. So you can, I was doing like smoke for forecasts in the summer because there were so many fires, but I don't think there's many now. You can do endangered species, and you can bring up this data set. So you can just search for anything and overlay it with our data if you want to add something that's publicly out there. So I just thought this was cool because people keep asking us for endangered species data, but we don't really have it ready. So this will show in the lighter areas is more imperiled species there than the darker areas. And the legend, although that was hard to figure out. You click on the map. Since we don't own this data, it's hard to tell what they're saying sometimes, but the species richness for imperiled species at this location is 5, and then it will tell you why that is. But it's called the Add Data button, and you can also add your own data. You can add, if you have a API or web service you want to add, you can put it there, or you can upload a shape file or CSV and overlay it on the map as well. And then you have to remember to turn it off. Like I just did not remember that. Let me go back. Okay, remove. Okay, I'm going to move on to the rest of these tabs on the community page quickly. So the next one is swimming. We're just going to show you the swimming assessments for that area. This is helpful if you have a lot of water bodies where you landed, maybe like 20, and then you can just see the ones that had swimming assessments. And then eating fish is the same. And if there is an impaired, Kishwaukee River here is impaired for fish and shellfish consumption. We also link to each state's fish advisory website because we know that's where you get the most recent data. So there's a link for Illinois right there. The next tab is aquatic life. It will show you the assessment for aquatic life is good. And so this changes to green there. And then the next tab is drinking water. And we have a lot of information here. And we had to put a lot of text around it because there's a lot of stuff going on. So we have all the drinking water providers in this county. So we're not in a watershed right now. We're showing it by county. And you can turn off all the text too and get straight to the data on any page right there in the top right if you want to. So this is explaining what you're looking at. And then how to get information about private wells and consumer confidence reports and stuff like that. But if I go straight to the data, you'll see there's, this is from our drinking water office, 310 public water systems in this county. And then we do the largest population served first, and you can get a whole list. The most important part is when you open it and you can see, has it ever had a health-based violation? If the answer is yes, you can go into their database page and you can see what the date was of that violation and what was in it and if it was resolved. And then the next tab is who withdraws water for drinking here. So this goes back to the watershed, and we have this can filter by surface water or groundwater. We have 6 groundwater facilities withdrawing water there. And then the next tab for the drinking water is which waters have been assessed for drinking water use. And we don't have any in this watershed, but that will just show the state's assessment for water bodies that could be pre-treatment, could be a future source of drinking water. So that's the drinking water tab. And then the next tab is a monitoring tab. And this is where you can dig in deeper into the monitoring data that I showed on the overview page. So if I go to, this is on the past water conditions from the volunteer monitoring, or it could be states, right? Anyone can submit it. So on here we just added this date slider. We worked with the USGS a lot to try to get this in here. And so this will show you the date range for this monitoring data, and it will change for each watershed. This is 1970, the range here is 1979 to 2021. Let me turn off the stream, the USGS stuff. So this is all USGS stuff. They run the water quality portal, which we pull from, but a lot of data is submitted through EPA to get here. So, so yeah, we work closely with USGS to do this. So you can drag this date slider, and if you're, say you were a kid in 1979 and you just wanted to see what was going on there in 1979, you drag that, and then this will update, and these stations have the data from 1979, or you can just get the most recent one, and that was in 2021, and you can slide it all the way to 2021 if you just want the most recent data. This was very exciting because we got several requests over the past 3 years on what is the date of this data, and before you couldn't find it out unless you downloaded the spreadsheet. So now you can just know what you're downloading before you download it. So it was very exciting to get this date slider in here. We have data from 1875 in here in a location in Wisconsin. And so that's the oldest one we have. And it was pretty exciting to find that one. And then of course, all the way up to, I guess, 2023, because we're over a week. Well, no, we're almost a week into the new year. So this we'll have 2023 data in here soon. So once you pick out your date range, and you can also filter if you're just interested in where the sediment data was monitored, you can just download all the sediment data for this whole watershed, or you can pick them all and download all the data there for that whole, all those stations that are showing up there. You can also turn on the surrounding stations like I showed before. So I'm going to go into one of the stations. I can find it. Oh, here it is. So if you click on the list, you can also click it on the screen. And so this is the station I'm going to look at up here on the Kishwaukee River. And you can find out who submitted the data, USGS Illinois Water Science Center, and you can download it right there. And you can click it on the list. Oh, I was going to go to this one. I think that's it. No, it's the same one. So Illinois River Watch volunteer submitted this, and we have 24 samples, 287 measurements. And each monitoring location now has its own monitoring report page, like the water body report page. So if you click on view monitoring report, the monitoring report page comes up. And never before were you able to dig into the data like this. So this is pretty exciting. We just put this out there in September. This will show you, so before when you saw the bacteria group and the pesticides group and stuff like that, those were grouped, but now these are all the characteristics that were grouped into those other groups. So you can see a whole range of what's going on in this station. So you can pick one of these and it will chart it. It's always, let's see if there's depth information. Okay, so I click on depth. You can go down the chart and you'll see the date range for the depth data at that station from 1997 to 2003. If you mouse over it, you can see the measurement taken. There's at June 13th, 1997, 0.125 meters. And you mouse over all these and you can see how this data has changed over time right here. You can pick one at a time and it will show up on the chart. So there's air temperature here. We have that, and then you can get every measurement just by looking at this chart right here. You can also download data in more detail over here. I'm not sure what information means, but if I go into pesticides, this will break it up into. So I think some of our groups are messed up right now and they're trying to fix it. So it might still be messed up. But if I click on sediment in one of the groups and expand it, okay, you can download any of these sub names if you just want this 6 measurements right here, or you can download the whole station right there. You can do that for any station. This is an Illinois EPA one, and I actually think this is the one I wanted to click on, but there's so many I got mixed up. So for each station, it will show everything that was monitored there over all time. If I click on arsenic at this one, you'll see all the arsenic measurements from 2001 until 2021. Now you can visualize more what's going on there before you actually download the data. And here's a good example of all of the different characteristic groups that have different subgroups. So say you're just interested in chlorophyll B and C, just uncheck everything else and check those, and you can download that data, or you can pick any combinations that will show up in the spreadsheet. Okay. Looks like I have a few more minutes. Let me just show you the last 3 tabs on the community page. The next one's identified issues. And this is showing you all the issues in the watershed at once. Since there wasn't that many in this location, I chose a different one to show these tabs. I went to another location, Illinois, that seemed to have a lot of impairments, just to show you how the identified issues page works. This is Island Lake, Illinois. Sorry, I keep saying the state name wrong. So you can choose to see where, say you just want to know where the mercury is, that lake will appear, or you just want to pick a couple so you can see where the impairments are instead of having to click on every water body. Or you can see all the impairments at once in the watershed, like acidity. That one didn't work. Oh no, it showed up right here, this tiny little segment. So that's a way of seeing all the identified issues at once in the watershed. And then if there's any discharges with significant violations would show up here as well. And then the next page is restore, which talked about a little before. So the 319 grants will show up here, not on the map though. We don't have the geospatial information right now to show them on the map. But you can click on the grants, 319 grants, and find out the money and what year they were. This was from 1994. You can also go into that database and see more information on that grant. And then the restoration plans in the watershed, which most of them are TMDLs that are submitted to EPA, but there's other types too, 4 different types that we list here. But TMDL is the most common. So I need to check on the watershed plan stuff for you all, so I can get back to you on that. And but this will show the TMDLs, and it'll show the water bodies that have them. So you click on the water body that has the TMDL, and it will show you how many. It could have several, but might not just be 2 here because there's only 2 listed. But each TMDL or each plan, each restoration plan has its own plan summary page. That's just spinning, so I'm going to close that. If you click on open plan summary, you'll get information on that TMDL, I can't talk anymore, that was submitted. You can, if you go to the plan summary page, you'll get all the documents, the waters covered. Now that was a lot of water, so that was taking forever to load before. So that looks like a statewide TMDL. And you can click on all these to find out about the permits. And you can also get to the water body report page on the impairments as well. So each TMDL has that information in their own page. And finally, we have the protect page. And let me go back to the other place I was before, where we have, if you want to know your watershed health score, this compares the health of your watershed to the other ones in the state. It's only in the state, not cross states. So here, the darker the shading, the healthier the watershed is in comparison to the ones around it. This one looks fairly healthy. We have all the wild and scenic rivers from the Wild and Scenic River program. They're protected by the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. It will show up here. There's none here, but I have one open. It does have one, and this is in Illinois, in Danville. And so if there's a wild and scenic river, it will list it on the right here and give you some information about it. And then you can click it on the map. This one's Middle Fork Vermilion River, and you'll get a picture of it. And then who manages it. And also you can see if your wild and scenic river is impaired. So I just went to the other assessment of it, and it's been assessed good, so that's good. And then on the 2 more things on the protect page, protected areas, we use the PAD US database to show all the protected areas around here. And it will list the protected areas here, and you can also click on them and find out what it is. And you can also, I know Scott said there was a lot of protected land where we were in here along the river, and I tried to turn back on the water bodies. Okay, there they go. So yeah, so there's seems to be a lot of protected land right here along the river, and so you can pan around and see that, and you can click on them and find out more about it there. And then we have some tips here on how to protect your watershed that I'm updating next week. There will be a lot more stuff here. So that's the community level. We have educator section up here at the top with information for educators and lesson plans. We have more information about the data on this data button here. And then if you want to contact me, please send me an email on the contact us form, or just email mywaterway@epa.gov, or you can go through this form. So there's an email address right here, or you can submit the form to ask me a question. And I didn't have time to go into the state page, but you can go in this button here and search for Illinois and see their last report, integrated report submitted to EPA. It's just 1 o'clock right now, so I could talk about this forever, but I guess we'll have to end soon.
Well, I want to thank you. I think it is a fairly intuitive webpage that you put together, but it is very robust. There's a lot of information in here. And so knowing what it's capable of, I think really helps us know what to look for. A lot of people did have questions as we went along. So I suggest everybody spend a little bit of time playing with the site and following your areas of interest But I think this is a very powerful tool. Durs commented in the chat. Part of the reason I really wanted to bring this to everybody's attention is that this information is all consolidated on a single page. Even the endangered species, that wasn't something I remembered from the previous presentation. But you know, you don't have to do a separate eco watch to see where listed species may be. You know, you can do this all together on a single page instead of having multiple tabs open and trying to cross-reference. So really a very powerful tool. And I feel like you know, very low on the learning curve, in all honesty, even having seen this twice. But you know, I think this can be very useful for all of our transportation folks on here, all the watershed folks, and others. So you know, I'm very grateful for all of your efforts putting this together and for taking the time to share it with us. And I'm sure you'll be getting emails from this group. I think I indicated in our email that we have a pretty diverse membership here, but everybody on here is very knowledgeable, and so you're speaking to the client base that is going to be interested in this type of thing.
Great. Yeah. And
so
don't hesitate to email me and with suggestions to and those questions. And I just wanted to say that we're giving a large webinar on the 25th for the general public. And we're going to show a lot more stuff. So I can send you this URL too, but you can register there if you're interested.
Yeah, please go ahead and forward that to me, because I can send that out. A lot of us wear a lot of different hats, and so we can forward that webinar information out to a broad audience and increase awareness. I wasn't aware that you had actually rolled this out in 2020. So the fact that most of us on here were not familiar with it, this type of outreach is important.
Great. Yeah, I'm happy.
So
I'm happy to do it, and I learn more about different areas every time. So it's great.
Okay. Well, anybody before we sign off, anybody have any questions for Kiki? Any last minute thoughts? The one thing I'll have is I'll apologize for sending so many emails out. There are two reasons for that. One, we were right on the holidays, and so I wanted to make sure that things didn't just get missed while everybody was out. Two, I'm learning the wonderful world of MailChimp, and one of the things with MailChimp is it tracks the number of people opening the mails, and we've been averaging about 40% of people actually opening the emails that we send. So I sent the emails out both through MailChimp, and then I sent it out using my email just to make sure people were getting it. So if I do send multiple emails out, those are the reasons. I'm just trying to make sure that people are getting the information so that we get the attendance that it deserves. So I really appreciate everybody's time. And our next meeting is on March 3rd. So we'll continue our meeting on the first Friday of every other month. So our next one will be March 3rd from 10:30 to 12. And I think we'll continue doing this as a online. But I think we would, if people want to get together, we can certainly do that. I think at least one annual in-person meeting would be warranted. And so I'll start putting information out about a time and date that we could be doing that and where we might meet up. I think it'd be very good for us to see each other face to face, and we'll make it more of an event when we do that. So if anybody has any thoughts on anything we talked about today, please do not hesitate to contact me by email or give me a call. But I really appreciate everybody's time and look forward to a productive 2023. So with that, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
That was really